Welcome to the Extended Bench, your YouTube home for all things rugby league news, analysis, history and opinion. Subscribe so you don't miss a video and give us a thumbs up. The Extended Bench is part of the Rugby League Monthly Network, which includes a monthly online digital magazine available at rugbyleaguemonthly.com and a daily podcast, Rugby League Daily, which airs during the NRL season. All links are down below in the description. Let's get into it. The Tigers. Where to start with them? They finished 13th last year, only managing to beat Broncos, Cowboys and Bulldogs on the table. And while they weren't a horrendous attacking side with their 500 points for, which was actually better than the 7th place Knights, their defence was abysmal. They conceded 714 points across last season, often in fairly embarrassing circumstances. This wasn't a string of 20-point losses, this was a bunch of annihilations. They conceded 40 points against the Roosters, Sea Eagles and Eels, got blown away by 66 points against the Storm, also conceded another 44 points against Manly, had 50 put on them by the Sharks, and rather embarrassingly were beaten 38-0 by the last place Bulldogs. And those Bulldogs also had a better defensive record than the Tigers last year. We also got a front row seat to a good chunk of all of that courtesy of the Tales from Tiger Town documentary, which also seemed to double as Justin Pascoe's vanity project. By now we've all heard ad nauseum about how much Michael Maguire has a big job riding this ship. And he's been able to clear out some big salary cap drains, such as Mr. Best Centre in the competition Joey Leilua, who is apparently so good he's playing in the second tier in England, while also seeing Moses Mbye depart. As always, the major focus is going to be on Luke Brooks. The last remaining of the Tigers' supposed Big Four has seemingly been constantly weighed down by those expectations. He's also had to deal with a revolving door of halves partners. The Tigers seem to eventually settle on Adam Doueihi, being his 5'8" until he tore his ACL last year. And coming into this season, it appears as though new recruit Jackson Hastings will get first crack in the halves, given Doueihi's still recovering from that injury. And it's important those two click, because the Tigers averaged 29 tackles inside the opposition 20 last year, putting them third behind the Eels and Panthers, but they only managed to average 20 points a game, setting them in ninth. At least they were ninth in something. As I led off with, defence and discipline was a major issue last year. They were 6th for penalties conceded last year with 4.5 penalties per game, while also leaking close to 30 points per game. There were some positives though, with Dane Laurie announcing himself as the club's fullback and quickly showing he belongs in the NRL, and Luciano Leilua continued to churn out consistent performances and was often the Tigers' best in attack. The Tigers also possessed some promising forwards like Stefano Utoikamanu, who has just re-signed, while Shawn Blore has continued his development, although he's out for this season with a torn ACL. The recruit I like the most though is Tyrone Peachey, and hopefully his arrival will see Alex Twal shifted into the front row. Twal is a more traditional lock, and that role suits him. He was a prop in Parramatta's lower grades and has never really developed the passing game. Last year he didn't have a single try involvement, however was second only to Joe Ofahengaue for 1 pass hit-ups, while only passing the ball 30 times himself during the season. For context, Ofahengaue passed the ball 84 times last year. Tyrone Peachey, meanwhile, passed the ball 257 times. Now that's obviously comparing apples to oranges, given Peachey played as both a utility and at 5'8" last year, but he also played a good chunk of the year at lock, providing a total of 9 try assists. You need a ball-playing lock these days to give your side width, and Peachey will only help in that regard. I'm still not confident of the Tigers turning things around this year. Their defence needs to improve by at least 200 points if they want to be competing for finals, while they are again going to be having an unstable spine. While Hastings and Brooks will start the year, pressure will mount on Maguire the moment Doueihi is fit and ready to go. They do have the capability to score points, but they will need to make better use of the ball, given the field position that they get, while also not allowing the opposition to score points as easily. The Tigers need a big attitude adjustment to turn it around, and I don't see that happening at the moment. And I'm predicting a slide down the ladder into 15th.